This video is going to show you how to solder the colour changing USB lamp kit by Kitronik. Your first step is to solder the resistor. Pick up the resistor and bend the legs. Locate the label R1 on your PCB and push the resistor through these holes. Make sure it's flush against the board. Bend the leg slightly so it doesn't fall out. Place the soldering iron at the bottom of the resistor leg and then apply the solder just for a few seconds until it melts. You should be able to see a nice, neat volcano shape, and it should look shiny and there should not be any gaps. Solder the other resistor leg too. When you pull the iron away, move it against the leg of the resistor. This will make your joint look neater. Use side cutters to trim the resistor legs and hold on to them so they do not ping and hit anybody. Your next step is to solder the switch. Locate the switch and push it on where it says SW1 on the PCB. Push it so it's flush against the board. You may wish to turn it on its side and just double check that you can't see a gap underneath the switch. Solder all 5 joints, making sure that you only spend a few seconds melting the solder on each one. It is recommended that you attach some wires to your LED. You will need to work out how long these wires need to be depending on your lamp design. Get yourself some wire strippers and strip about 1 centimetre off each end of the wires. You need a black wire and you need a red wire. In the video I've used wire that is about 15 centimetres long. You will then need to twist each end of the wire so that all the strands are together. Locate the shorter leg of the LED and wrap the black wire tightly around it. This side also has a flat surface on the white part of the LED. The flat side of the LED indicates which way round it should go on the PCB later. You now need to solder this together. Feel free to use a clip to keep it in place while you solder. Place the iron on for a few seconds while you mount the solder along the length of the LED leg. Solder the red wire onto the longer leg of the LED. Get yourself 2 pieces of shrink wrap and thread it on both pieces of wire. This is to insulate the exposed bit of wire where you've soldered. This will also cover up your solder joint. To attach the shrink wrap, use the clean part of the iron and roll the iron on the shrink wrap. Ensure you don't leave the iron on for longer than a second as it will burn through. Just dab it on. Before you attach your LED to your PCB, you may need to thread the wires through your lamp enclosure first, through any holes that you've drilled. Locate where it says LED1 on your PCB. This is where your LED is going to be attached. Do not get confused about where the power cable is going to be attached later on. Poke the LED wires through the hole on the PCB and solder it. You can then trim these wires so that it's neater. Your last step is to attach the USB power cable to your PCB. Again, you may need to thread this through your enclosure before you do this. Thread the red and black power cables through the strain relief hole first, and then the red cable needs to go into the hole where it says red. You then solder this. Get the black wire and poke it through the hole where it says black, and then solder the other side. Use a USB port to test your lamp to see if it works. When soldering, ensure that you wear goggles, apron, and you tie your hair up. Soldering irons and stands get very hot, so if you do happen to burn yourself, run your hand under the tap for 10 minutes at least. Replace the iron back into the stand when not in use, and make sure it doesn't touch its own cable. Ventilate the room, do not breathe in the fumes, hold on the wires when snipping so they do not shoot off, and ensure that you wash your hands with soap and water after soldering, as solder contains lead.